bringing you classic rock through the ages, profiling all genres and subtypes with interviews and reviews. Kaleidoscope ears will put colour into your music from 6 p.m. Sunday nights. Tune in and drop out. I've got with me Mike Sola. He's the drummer from Sydney-based Super Florence Jam. How are you, Mike?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Super Florence Jam a few months ago released a second EP. I know you're calling it an EP, but I'd call it an album, wouldn't you?
Well, I guess it clocks in at just under half an hour, so we're using that to class it as an EP. But yeah, I guess we originally had the 6 singles that we released this year, and that was meant to make up the EP on its own. But we had so many people asking for the 3-track single that we released in 2010, so we ended up sticking that on as well. So I guess EP plus, maybe.
Well, some of the Beatles albums were less than that, about 25, 26 minutes.
Yeah. Well, thanks for comparing us to them. I appreciate it. Our approach has always just been sort of just to write songs, and however they come together, whatever we think they need, if it's a guitar solo or greater dynamics or keys or no keys, we just kind of do it. And that's why I think the last few releases have always been quite eclectic, because we have such a broad range in taste. But I think since our first EP, we all it did well for us, and we left that process thinking about what we could do differently next time. And so it was just really the process this time. We were a little bit more relaxed with the arrangements, and the songs just came out how they did. Yeah, look, I mean, certainly the track that closes the EP is one of Adam's Moment in Time, and I guess you could say that's a more mature kind of song. It's the first real kind of acoustic thing that we've put on a release. But, I mean, there's still those kind of quirky elements. That's the end of it. The opening track is just a ball of fun. And Signals track 2 was also just kind of a bit of fun, playing around with different rhythms and chucking in a bit of a lead guitar solo at the end there. I guess Adam wrote a few of the tracks on here with more of a classic rock sound in mind, which kind of have that old school vibe about them. And I guess it's the first real release where we've used the synth and the keyboard quite extensively as well. So maybe some of the layering, lends to the kind of classic feel of a few of the tracks. But, we still had a lot of fun making it, and we always have fun playing the songs live. So
you guys have been together for quite a while now.
Yeah, look, I mean, we started quite a while ago. We met in high school, 3 of us, and we met Adam through a friend of ours who was at another high school. And really the band was like, for half the band, it was just the high school band. And then when everyone had graduated and we were able to legally play in pubs and clubs, by that stage we'd already been together for 4 years or something. Lawrence is the youngest, and by the time he turned 18, we'd already played like 150 shows all over Sydney. So, it's only been, I think, 2.5 years since our debut EP, but before that we had 4 or 5 demo CDs that we used to sell while we were busking on the street, and giving them away to fans and that sort of thing. So I guess as far as releases go, it's still a relatively young band, and we're all still early mid-20s. So yeah, we have been together for a while, but I think we just got lucky. Like, we all really enjoy playing together and jamming, and probably the toughest thing is just agreeing on what kind of music to play, because we all have such eclectic taste. Can change every 15 minutes, but somehow we just come up with songs and they go on a CD, and hopefully people like it too.
So how much do you, as the drummer of the band, how much do you have in terms of songwriting involvement?
Um, Probably not as much as I used to when we were doing a lot of instrumental kind of prog jamming stuff. The early stuff, we used to just go into a room, improvise, and that was almost the song. We just arranged it a little bit. Nowadays, we still do that, but Lawrence and Adam have developed a lot more as songwriters, and they'll go away and come back with almost a fully fledged song, and then Alex and I will lend our opinions and possibly try rearranging some of the parts or pushing the guys to come up with a new part, a new bridge or a new vocal melody. And I think one of my strengths, rather than actually writing music, is arranging and producing. So I like to think I add value in that way. But yeah, I mean, when you've got guys like Lawrence and Adam who are very prolific songwriters and very good at coming up with riffs and melodic ideas, we just generally play to our strengths. So they'll come in with the core of an idea and the rest of us will shape it. And at the end of the day, it's still mostly Lawrence or Adam's song, but you definitely hear all of our voices in the final recording.
Yeah, on your press release, it says that you recently did a national tour. Is Hobart not part of the nation?
It is. We'd love to get to Hobart. Hopefully, at some stage, we'll be able to get down there. It wasn't actually recently that we did this tour. I think it was back. It's almost a year ago. We did a short tour with a band called Green Thief up and down the East Coast, and then did a couple other shows in regional New South Wales. But yeah, as you know, it all comes down to a matter of cost, and it cost a fair bit of money for us to record this EP and distribute it and get it out there and promote the tour and print out all the CDs and mail them all over the world. So that's usually the factor that comes into play when we're trying to get to places like Hobart or Perth as well, just because the flights are a little bit more expensive, and we can't obviously drive there as we can with Brisbane or Melbourne. But yeah, look, I would love to get down to Hobart. Got nothing against it, and we know the people are good down there. So
you're also involved with the Birds Robe Collective. Does that take up your time in terms of Super Florence Jam? Do you find yourself in conflict from time to time?
I guess because I tend to I manage Super Florence Jam and I do all the bookings and publicity, and I also run the Birds Robe label and do bookings and publicity for all the bands on the roster. So I guess from that point of view, it makes it easier for me to avoid clashing because I can just book things whenever I'm available to go to shows. But yeah, look, luckily we've had very few instances where there was a clash. I think the worst thing that ever happened was I had to miss a Birds Robe show because I was playing with SFJ up the road, and then when the SFJ show finished, I just drove over to the Birds Robe gig and caught the end of it. But yeah, as far as scheduling goes, I really haven't had so many issues. I guess it'll probably become more of an issue as, now that I'm managing Sleep Makes Waves, I'll go on a few overseas trips with them, which will make SFJ unavailable. But, we're sort of planning to take a break to write songs and stuff anyway, so it kind of hasn't resulted in any major problems as yet.
Do you think it's possible to get the Australian audience in general more interested in progressive and experimental music?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mention this all the time when people ask this question. There's definitely an audience for that kind of music in Australia, and we see that from not just the people that go and see Yes and Jethro Tull, the kind of classic prog bands when they come to Australia, but also bands like the Mars Volta come here and play the Enmore Theatre in Sydney, play to a couple of thousand people. Bands like Explosions in the Sky, Mogwai, Sigur Rós, Mono, they all come here and play to several hundred, a couple of thousand people each at their shows, and they do that all along the East Coast, Adelaide, Perth. Occasionally they get down to Hobart for a festival or a headline show. So really, that's sort of the market that we know already exists in Australia, and there's such a huge wealth of underground talent, and that's what Bird's Robe and other such labels are aimed at promoting. Now, we're essentially promoting to that market, but we're also promoting to music fans in general who, you know, because instrumental or progressive music isn't given much support in the mainstream, they might not have heard of this stuff before. And, you know, I always think back, or, you know, you think yourself to the time when you first heard Pink Floyd, or you first heard Rush, or you first heard the Mars Volta, or Mogwai, or a band like that, and how it kind of opened you up to this whole world of music that you didn't know existed. And for some people in Australia, these local bands are going to be that introduction. And, you know, they're definitely good enough to have an effect on people. So it's just a matter of getting them in the right place, promoting them in the way they deserve to be promoted, getting them to play shows and tour and visit places all over Australia so that people can go out and see them. So, yeah, I think there's definitely potential, and hopefully some of the bands can capitalise on some of that.
How important for music like this is community radio?
It's extremely important, and especially for Super Florence Jam, we've actually never been played on the main station of Triple J, just on their digital radio program, which is still cool. But, you know, Triple J is really gold for a band in Australia because it's a national broadcaster, and if they're not picking up your band, then the only way for you to get to an audience in another city is through community radio. And the great thing about community radio is it's not just in the capital cities, it's in every nook and cranny, all of the regional centres, you know, as far out as you can get, basically. You name a place, they've got a local station broadcasting. And that's, you know, obviously the way that bands on the Bird's Robe label are able to exist. It's because stations such as yours are good enough to give us support and play the artists, and people who are, you know, starving for some kind of different musical content will search out these programs that are playing that kind of music and hopefully find something new that they like and keep listening. And it's also great that, you know, I know Kaleidoscope, you know, you stream some of your content online so that people are able to find this stuff post-interview or post-event, and that really makes it a lot easier for bands to get their stuff out, because they can have stuff sitting on the internet for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and people finally get around to listening to it and checking out some new music. So yeah, look, I can't say enough good things about community radio and how they've been helping out Bird's Robe artists in particular. So thank you.
No, thanks very much for chatting with me again, Mike, and all the best for 2012, and hope to catch up with you in person sometime through the year at one of the Bird's Robe gigs.
No worries, thanks a lot, and I can say probably 90% we will have a show in Hobart in the second half of 2012, so we'll hopefully see you then.